In the previous episode we got this funky little shopping cart going, now it's time to make it stop too. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to... Before any of the fun stuff can begin, a lot of things have to be removed. So while the two fuckers work on that, let's talk a bit about why exactly you would want to convert a car that makes 45 horsepower and weighs 900 kilograms to disc brakes. Well, there are a few reasons. My main reason is reliability. I off-road a lot and the drums get full of shit, and since drum brakes have quite a lot of moving parts, that leads to excessive wear and they just stop working. Fucking around with the drums is a constant pain in my life, and even when they are working, they are weak. For the everyday commute, this isn't that big of a deal. The front brakes are more than capable of stopping this tin can in a timely manner, but when you start loading the car up and maybe even hook up a camping trailer, which I intend to do a lot this summer, well, that's a different story. In that case, you will often find yourself grinding on the pavement, which is scary. Ask me how I know. Hey look, the fuckers are done, let's rebuild the junkyard calipers. Figuring out which calipers to use was probably the hardest thing about this whole shit show. A popular option is a Volkswagen Golf 4 rear caliper, but that didn't feel right to me. After a month or two of looking around and asking stupid questions on Facebook, I've settled for Fiat 125 rear calipers. Luckily, Fiat engineers are lazy and tend to reuse or just slightly tweak existing designs instead of coming up with something new all the time. This is a good thing for us, cause you can probably Lego together an almost plug-and-play solution for any modification you want to make. The 124/125 calipers are, for example, almost identical to the Panda front calipers. You can use the calipers of the 124 as well. Depending on where you live, they might be easier to source, but when ordering rebuild kits, keep in mind that the 124 uses smaller pistons. Ask me how I figured this out.
Nice.
Well, now that we can see what we are dealing with, it's time to get down to business. How is this thing actually going to work? Well, it's going to be a mixed match of 2 or 3 several vehicles. As mentioned before, for the brake calipers, we are using Fiat 124/125 rear brake calipers because they had disc brakes at the rear. It's going to sit like this, something like this. For holding it, we are going to be using the Panda's front bracket that is going to sit like this up here. But immediately we run into an issue, because where the drum brakes used to sit previously, there is this ridge that was used to register the drum backing plate, but this diameter is way larger than this one, because on the front this ledge thingy doesn't exist. As you can see, there's quite a bit of difference between the two diameters, so we are going to have to extend it first before we can really start anything. The same goes for the dust shield, because this is also from the Panda front. You cannot fit the Fiat 124 dust shields to this kind of axle because of the leaf spring. The Fiat 124, 126 uses coil springs, unlike the Panda. The Panda still uses leaf springs. So the way this big Lego is going to come together, you're gonna have the backing plate with the enlarged diameter sitting right there. Then comes the wheel hub / wheel bearing assembly for a Panda rear. This is going to sit like this, 4 bolts holding it from the back. Kind of sort of something like this. Of course you have the axle going through, I'm not putting it that right now. Then you're gonna grab the brake caliper holding bracket, and this one is from also the 124, not from the Panda. Because, as it turns out, the pistons themselves are pretty different in the fact that this distance is way narrower on the 124 than on the Panda. My original idea was to use the Panda brackets with the 124 calipers and then use Panda pads as well, but there is not enough space for that. So we are going to use the 124 brackets, 124 pistons and 124 pads as well. They go together something like this. Actually no, this is the wrong side. This is the one I'm gonna need. So I'll be sitting something like this. Of course, this is just a rough estimate. I'm gonna use these bolts, mount them up there, like so. Anyway, it's gonna sit something like that. And we're going to run Panda rear discs. But it really doesn't matter because the Panda and the 124 use the same disc.
I traced out the outline for the hole from the drum backplate onto masking tape and used it as a template. The angry bit made quick work of most of the material, but man, be careful with those suckers cause they constantly want to rip your hands off. I haven't had such a wrist workout since I was 12. After the angry bit it needed some finishing off by hand, but who doesn't from time to time. You can see there was a pretty big difference in the diameters, but at least we can now get to assembly. I cleaned up the end of the axle, replaced the seals cause obviously it was leaking too, not like I've replaced it twice already. Geez, maybe heavy offroading makes parts wear out a lot quicker. Nah, shitty parts from China, yeah, that's your problem. Anyways, this is how it looks with all new parts. Allow me to yap a little more while the passenger side gets done. The dust shields gave me a bit of a headache. You can no longer get them, well, except at one place, but they sell it for like £100 a piece, so there is no realistic way of obtaining them new. I sourced a pair from the junkyard Panda I use for parts, but these had a few speed holes in them already, and no one in the country had these second hand either. I've entertained the idea of maybe hammer forming them at home, but it just wasn't worth the effort, so I ended up giving them the Landlord special and called it a day.
I was kind of stuck on how to mount the rubber line and how to connect it with the copper hard line, and the solution I figured out is on the front suspension you have these bracket thingies. This is to hold the telescope to the wheel hub or something like this, or the brake calipers to the wheel hubs. I don't really know what this is supposed to do, but anyway, since I junked a complete Panda, I had two of these as well, and after some trimming, it had to be trimmed. It fits nicely onto the axle, and you can route the rubber line right through, and you won't even have to replace the hard line. You will only need to trim it a bit shorter, about 15 centimeters shorter, and it's nicely out of the way and everything. So this is the way the hydraulic lines are going to be routed. I'm going to replace the copper lines because this one got pinched a little bit.
All we have left now is to shorten the copper lines, reflare them and bleed the system. Theoretically you are not supposed to use regular V-flares on brake lines, they need something called a bubble flare, but to be honest I've used V-flares everywhere on this car and so far I'm still alive, so they will do just fine here too. But you should use bubble flares just to be safe. This is not financial advice. With everything connected and the lines bled, I wanted to do a test run around the block, but before connecting the exhaust I just had to let it rip one more time. This will in fact never get old. Anyways, the pedal felt soft and spongy and it didn't take a long time to figure out why. The back of the passenger side caliper was leaking, the O-ring that seals the handbrake actuator shaft wasn't the right size, I've put a too big one in and it ended up shearing in two. The kit I got didn't include these, so I used ones from my stash. After putting everything back together again and bleeding the system once more, everything was fine. The new brakes are more powerful than the old drums could ever be.
Nyomd egy jobban?
So I went to the classic car meet in the next town over as a live test and everything was working as intended.
And since then, about a month has passed. I've been driving this thing daily to see if anything needs any more improvement, and I'm proud to say that the conversion is completed. Well, I'm still missing the handbrake cable, but this car never had a functioning handbrake, so it's not like I'm gonna miss it in the meantime. You can see the discs are wearing nice and evenly, and the car generally feels more eager to stop. I didn't yet have the opportunity to test it with the trailer attached, because, well, my tow hitch still looks like this. Yeah, I will have to fix that soon. Anyways, I've been yapping for long enough, and it's time to end this episode before the last one of you clicks away. If you want to see more of my shenanigans, follow me on TikTok and Instagram, and join me next time for another weird and wacky adventure. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.